Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another video here on Free Will Photos. Today, we're going to use Super Select AI to edit a photo because I think that this is a tool that gets misunderstood, or at least it doesn't get used often. So let's go ahead and jump into ON1 Photo RAW and take a look. So here we are inside of ON1. And as always, if you are a FWP Academy member, you know that you can have access to this session file already, and you know where to get that. Now, if you want to join the FWP Academy, then use the link in the description box below. First thing that I want to do is click Brilliance AI to activate it, and then we'll just come back over here to tone and color because I want to start modifying at least just the base image. And this is important because when it comes to applying things locally, which is what the Super Select AI tool is going to do, we want to make sure that we have a good foundation. So here's straight out of camera, and here's what what Brilliance AI has done to the photo already. Now, the Brilliance AI didn't really do a whole lot to this image, and I actually appreciate that. So let's hold down the J key, make sure that we're not clipping anywhere, and I'm just going to go ahead and pull down on my blacks. Oh, got some clipping in the neck of the goose there, so we'll just go ahead and pull that back, and I think that that's good. And then we'll go ahead and pull up on our whites, getting some clipping there, and so we'll pull that back until that's just gone. All right, and then I'll come over here to shadows, and I like to darken my shadows because I like my images to be a little bit more contrasty overall. And then I'll pull up on the midtones until I get the image bright enough to where I want it. And I'll even pull the contrast slider this time around just to give it some overall general contrast. Like separating the shadows from the highlights is usually a good move. And so now you can see this is a little bit more of a drastic change. So this is straight out of the camera, and this is after Brilliance AI. Now it's time to jump over to Super Select AI. And that's going to be over here on our left tool wheel. All right. It's going to be the fourth from the bottom, or fifth from the top, I guess. But nonetheless, it's going to be like this little magic wand looking thing. And if you press the letter K, you can use that as a keyboard shortcut to activate this as well. So when I click it, what it's going to do is analyze the image as it's doing right now. And then once it's done, it gives me this little crosshair, and you can see what's happening on the screen, that as I float this thing around, it's just selecting different areas. Now, one of the things about Super Select AI is sometimes when you move it around, like right now, I haven't clicked anything, it's selecting a large portion of the image. But if I move it to the left just a little bit, you can notice that it just stopped selecting a smaller portion, or it's selecting less of the image. And then as I move it around, eventually I'll get to a point where it's only selecting a very, very small thing. Now, I'd be lying if I told you I knew all of the math and algorithms that this is using to actually detect the things in the photo. But ultimately, it's a very easy tool to use. You hover over wherever you want to apply this. And typically with Super Select AI, you got to think of like a edit in type of approach, or I want to adjust this area type of approach. All right. So we'll do something really simple. Like let's work with the goose first, right? Because you can see when I hover over it, it just selects the goose. And so if I click on the goose, now I need to go to the upper left corner, which is where our apply adjustments are. And so if I click on this little drop down menu, you'll see that it's kind of broken up into two sections. The top one is adjustment, and that's going to be all of your local adjustments. So if you're used to working inside of the local tab, then this is essentially how you can use those types of tools inside of the Super Select AI tool. However, what's unique about this tool is you also get access to every other effect that's inside of the effects module. And so this is just a different way of working. So one of the things that we typically like to do is add contrast. And so I'm just going to go ahead and scroll down here to dynamic contrast. And I promise if you're going to stick around, I'm not going to do the exact same stuff throughout this entire video that I do in all of my photos. I just want to kind of showcase the use of the Super Select AI tool. And then we're going to get into some more fun and unique ways of using it. And so dynamic contrast, one of the things that I like to use is Surreal. This is a very common tool that I use, so I'll just go ahead and click that. And you'll notice that the goose actually got the adjustment. And so that's super helpful. But what's unique here is we still have access to the Super Select AI tool. And so I can continue making adjustments as I need to. So let's say I don't like how bright the top portion of this image is. And so let's see if I can select just the top part of the frame. And it doesn't look like there's anything that's going to allow me to select just the top part. And so we'll try a different way. So with the Super Select AI tool still active, what you can do is draw a rectangle or a marquee around the areas that you want to select. And I think this is getting me closer to what I want to select, so I'll let that go. And now you can see I'm just selecting the top part of the photo here, and I'll come over to these areas that didn't get selected, and I'm just going to click in there and highlight those. Now, this actually brings up a really good thing to note about the Super Select AI tool, and that is sometimes it's just used to get a rough mask. Case in point, if there's some gaps in the middle of my mask, and let's say that the Super Select AI tool just isn't going to let me refine that area, well, I can make the mask and then I can always edit it later using the standard masking tools. So just think of Super Select AI as like an expedited version of just getting your adjustments added to the image, and then you go back and refine them. All right. So what I want to do here is I want to darken down that background. So we'll use a local adjustment this time, and I'm just going to use a negative exposure. And so now you can see exactly what Super Select AI has done for this image. Now, of course, this doesn't look good. So when we get ready, we're going to have to come back and start to modify this. All right. And so what I'm going to do is continue working, but this time I want to work with the foreground. So I'm going to try that rectangular marquee tool trick again, see if I can get a little bit higher. And this is one of those areas where I am going to need that new mask or the masking tools to kind of refine this area, because I want this to come up a little bit higher, but I don't want to go up too high. All right. And so with that being said, we're going to select what we got here, but what I want to do with the foreground is actually apply a few tools to it. So first thing, I want to right click on it, and this is just another way of getting that pop-up the pop-up menu. If you right click, then you can do that. And the way that you get that is by clicking on the little circle here. All right. And so making sure that this little circle is full. That's what I mean. And so what I want to do here is apply a color enhancer. And when it comes to some of the filters inside of ON1, you have to use one of the presets. It doesn't allow you to just add the filter without any adjustment. And so some of these, if you know that you're using them on a regular basis, then it helps to create a style where it's just the default setting. And so that's essentially what this one is, FWP, no adjustment. And you can create that very easily. You just go over to the effects, you click add new filter, and then whatever pops up usually has nothing adjusted on it. And then you just create a style and name it whatever you need to. All right. Now, with that being said, I do want to actually adjust the saturation area at the bottom. So I'm just going to pull that down. And you'll see what's happening. It's desaturating the bottom portion of the photo. All right. And then I also want to come to the yellows, and let's maybe saturate the yellows a little bit, push them. Let's push them more towards orange, just so that way we're getting a little bit of color difference in the photo, and maybe something like that. All right. And so that's looking pretty decent. Now, it's time to add a real, I guess, a unique spin to the overall image. And that's going to be right here in the midground. So with the Super Select AI tool still selected, I'm just going to make a rectangular selection around here and also around here. And so now I'm selecting all of these little bushy areas. We'll even try and get these little tall stems and whatnot, but it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay because I'm not going for perfection. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and right click and let's see, what can we add to this area? Well, I think it would be cool if we throw in maybe a bleach bypass. Let's try bleach bypass, and I'm going to go with, we'll go with normal and see what that does. Okay, that just brightens up everything. Not what we probably want to do. So let's pull down on the brightness to darken that down just a little bit, and then maybe even pull down on the contrast and maybe even the details. Not that far though. Maybe something like this. Now it's looking a little cartoony, and well, you always got to play around to see what something is going to do. Maybe somewhere around here. I don't know. We'll see. All right. And so now we could say that Super Select AI, we're done with all of the adjustments that we would want to make using this tool. And so pressing the letter Z on your keyboard gives you the zoom tool. And it's important to exit the Super Select AI tool. One, so when you hover over your image, you're not getting those blue overlays. But two, so you're not accidentally adding a filter in areas of the photo that you don't actually want to edit. So now that we have Super Select AI turned off and I have my 3 effects added to the photo, it's time to continue working with the image, because I think we got like the base structure and it's time to kind of just shape this. So one of the things that I like to do is add in a LUT. And the reason I add in LUTs is because it's a quick way of getting a really cool look. Now, I happen to have some premium LUTs here that I purchased from Instagram off of a complete impulse buy, and I'm not disappointed that I got them, but you just may not have access to these. So if you don't worry about it. You can go jump on the internet and purchase or download free LUTs. But ON1, if you are a Plus member, you are able to go into the creative asset library, and there's a series of LUTs that are available there as well. So lots of opportunities available to get LUTs. And if you find something that works for a video editing software, they're also going to work here inside of ON1. So just keep that in mind when you're searching on the internet. Now, I'm going to go ahead and scroll through, and I actually like this one. Look at that. It didn't even take long for me to find one that I actually enjoyed putting onto this particular photo. And what you can see is we have like these 3 different shades, like bright, sort of brightish, and then dark. And so this is helping me really start to see where this image is going. And so I'm going to go ahead and pull down on the opacity and then just fade this into the photo, maybe somewhere around here. Doesn't look too bad. And then I'm going to go with a blur. Let's go, you know what? We're going to go with the new motion blur. I'm not sure if that's actually going to do us any good on this photo, but sometimes you just got to do things to have fun. All right. And so that's what we're going to do. Now, right now it's going over the entire image. I don't want it over the entire image. I want to protect our goose here. So let's come up to masking, and then we'll hit the plus icon, and we're going to come to quick mask AI and subtract. And so what this should allow us to do, if I click the goose, we should be able to cut the goose out and keep the blur everywhere else except for on the goose, which is what we got. And so now if I pull this apart just a little bit here, you can see how this is starting to impact the entire image. And I think this is looking pretty good. And so I'm going to pull the opacity down and then slowly start to pull it up, maybe right around here. Looks pretty good. And again, I'm just experimenting, having fun. Not quite sure if this is even something that'll even be saved. I may even just delete this whole edit, with the exception of those who are in the FWP Academy. I'll make sure you get a copy. All right. But with that being said, let's take a look at the before, take a look at the after. So this is just kind of the fun of playing around with images using ON1 Photo RAW. You don't always have to be serious. I know that everybody wants to have a perfect looking photo when they're working inside of these editors, but truth be told, it's better to come in, do what I just did, experiment, and if something great happens, then great. But if something bad happens, then it doesn't matter. Delete it. Just get rid of it. And so that's probably what's going to happen with this photo. And so I'll go ahead and stop here. And I want to encourage everyone to just explore using photo editing software, regardless of if it's ON1 or not. Like, obviously, this channel, I focus heavily on using ON1 Photo RAW because it is my foundational editor. But in every program, you just have to see what each of the effects are going to be able to do to your image. And if it doesn't work, you don't have to show it to anyone. I'm showing it here, but you don't have to show your work to anyone. And so have fun. Okay? That's my encouragement to you. Now, if you want to learn how to use ON1 and maybe you have some very specific questions, or maybe you just need help finding a workflow that makes sense for you, consider signing up for a training call, and I'll walk you through ON1 Photo RAW or whatever problem that you may be facing with your particular photo editing journey. And, we'll just partner together and figure out what makes the most sense for you. If it's not ON1, that's okay, because my goal is to help you get your creative vision out and into the world faster, instead of, being frustrated that photo editing software may not be the best. Now, with that out of the way, I always encourage people that if you want to pick up ON1 Photo RAW, to consider using the affiliate coupon and link down in the description box below, because you save money, and it's also a way of supporting this channel, because everyone who purchases using that coupon code or the link, I make a small commission from that sale, but it's at no extra charge to you. And so if this is a program that you are considering and you want to help support the channel because maybe you like me, maybe you like the content that I produce, I don't know, maybe you just want to be nice, thanks, then consider using that link. But until next time, I want you guys to stay inspired and keep creating. Peace.